Hello, I wanted to talk about the truth about wellness and healing. And if you're anything like me and most of my clients, you have been exploring all the different options out there, all the different books, all the different modalities, everywhere from medical to Western medicine to natural medicine to spirituality. A lot of the New Age movement offers everything from crystal healing to sound healing to oh gosh, you name it, different readings, different types of energy work. I wanted to address that because many of us have been on this path of, sometimes from a desperate place because we're suffering, or there's a huge occurrence in our life that kind of jars us enough to say, what is all of this about, and how do I get through this pain and this suffering and these changes? And some of us, kind of found that path long ago, early on in life. I was one of those people that always felt it deeply in my young life, but really didn't find it until my 20s, and embarked on this path of reading a lot of books. The first one being The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield, recommended by my sister. And it was, that was kind of the launch of giving me a new language to talk about and a new framework to understand life and the world. And it, and as time evolved, I found myself discovering this path and that path, and exploring more about past lives and exploring more about energy work, and wound up going and getting certified as a Reiki practitioner, even though I never had heard of it before, and just was thankfully led to that. And now here I am decades later, after going to an interfaith seminary and studying all of the different paths and spiritual truths, which are all basically universal and saying the same thing. And now here I am at 54 years old now, and realizing all of that was worthwhile, a wonderful journey, sometimes very frustrating and confusing and painful, and often, repeating the same cycles in my life, over and over and over again. And I'm sure many of you can relate. And what I've come to understand now at this point is truly, for those of us who have read and have been trying to do the grind of trying to figure this out and to raise our consciousness and to live in accordance to the things that we say we value, like peace and kindness and love and compassion and all of those lovely ideals, right? All of those very worthwhile attributes that we hope to embody through our choices and our actions. However, I have to finally surrender to the realization that peace and freedom and healing is not a product of what I know. Because after everything I've read, after the different degrees that I've acquired and the different, and the ordination and the, everything that I've studied, it's not in my knowing. The answers are not in my knowledge. The answers are in stillness. Always in the stillness. Just because I get something, and if you're anything like me, maybe you've taken pride in your earnest exploration and how passionate you've been and how intriguing it's been and all of the things that you've learned and discovered and maybe even the skills that you've acquired along the way. However, really ultimately what we have to do is get still and quiet and stop relying on the thinking. Even if it's all these wonderful ideas that inspire us, you know, as well as I know, that that inspiration is not going to be at the front and center every minute of your day. And when somebody makes you angry or when an old hurt rises to the surface, knowledge is not the answer. It's not the answer. And the discovery, the true discovery of our spiritual self is by going within and turning off all that we think we know and understand. And I know there's plenty of people out there like me, but I will tell you, I feel like the queen of like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. I get it. And I'm like, okay, now that I get it, now everything's going to be great. And it's not about getting it. It's maybe that's certainly a step, but it's about living it and practicing it every single day with compassion for myself. But I will say that I can't live it and practice it every single day. All of these ideals that I wish to give to myself and give to others to make me a better person, to make me a more peaceful person, to make me a kinder, loving person, but also, yeah, just a person who feels free and powerful and confident and good and healthy and vibrant and all that stuff, and has the power to be my fullest self that I was meant to be. And that has come through the stillness. It's not arrived yet. I'm practicing it every day by trying to practice stillness and the idea of becoming the master of my mind and my body. And for my whole life, of course, I have not been the master of my mind and body. At times I have tried, just like most human beings, like, okay, that's it, I'm gonna do this. Once I get something, I create this, amazing plan about how I'm gonna turn things around and life is gonna be great until what? Until an emotion comes up and until a temptation comes up, until a grievance comes up, something comes up and knocks me down. And so the knowing and the planning, all of the things that we do to rely on our mind is not the solution. It's not the solution. It's not the stinking thinking and any of the knowledge that's in there. The only knowledge that we need to know truly is that I know nothing. And the answers are in the stillness inside of me. The divine voice, that still voice within. And the only way I can really gain access to that voice is by quieting all of those thoughts, all of the things I think I know, and practicing controlling the mind and the body. So that's what yoga calls meditation. And it's an ancient practice that with devotion and steadfastness, before you know it, you can attain the ability to be less affected and attached to the emotions and to your senses and to your thoughts and to the to the negative beliefs and self-talk that comes up for people. even negative talk about other people, that people, we're not realizing when these habitual thoughts or these reactions are just going on and on and on, how much it affects our reality. That which you think, so you shall become. And if you're angry, and you're angry at people, and you're angry at the driver, and you're angry at what happened when you were 5 years old, and you're angry about taxes and government, and you're angry that the world is not, people are not cooperating with all the ideals that I believe in. If we're angry at all of those things, though, that anger is going to come through. And also, by the way, I'm sure we're angry at ourselves too. The list of things that we're angry at ourselves for, disappointing ourselves, for doing that thing that we did, for not having a perfect body, or mistakes we've made, or just whatever judgments that we have of ourselves. So that's all being carried inside of us. The only way to override that from rising to the surface and having reactions to it, and then going and acting out angrily towards self or others, is by practicing stillness, silence, silencing the mind, silencing the body. Yoga calls this, the beginning of it is pratyahara, the turning within of senses, learning how to not react to every sense in the body, an itch, a smell, a taste. So learning how to, just because I feel it doesn't mean I have to react to it. So when we practice yoga, when we practice meditation, we sit with a tall spine, with the crown reaching nice and tall. The chin is slightly tucked. The seat is firmly rooted. And we have a soft body, but we're nice and tall, as if a string is pulling us up. Our shoulders are rolled back, and we place our hands in a mudra to seal off the energy, because if you don't do that, you're not able to eventually learn how to work with the energy that you're experiencing during the meditation, and that's coming through you, which we call prana, life force energy. So we're sitting with a nice erect spine, and we're closing our eyes, and we are working on not moving the body at all. If you have an itch, if you want to sneeze, if you gotta, need to wiggle your nose, or you have a hair on your face, or whatever it is, or you feel like, oh, my hip is starting to hurt, let me adjust myself. No, it's about sitting still and becoming the master of your body. So in those moments when your body's saying, hey, your body's speaking to your mind, and your mind's like, hey, do this, scratch that, sneeze, whatever. Even things that we think are involuntary reactions, they're really not involuntary. We can control those things. And so it's the practice of learning how to do that. So sitting nice and still and training yourself to not react to the physical experience, not react to the sounds around you, not react to the temperature, not react to anything, to sit still. The other part of stillness is stilling the mind. So of course, if you pay attention, you know that your mind is going all day long. In fact, there's layers upon layers of voices in there. You would think that we all had, multiple personalities, because we do. We have many voices in our heads that are talking about this and deciding that and judging this and saying, I want that, and ouch, and this is stupid, and whatever the judgments are. So let's, what you do then is you put those thoughts aside. they're going to go on and on and on. But it's like the body. It's you're ignoring. You're just letting your body be the body. You're letting your mind be the mind. The thoughts are not yours. The sensations are not yours. You're just focusing on your breath going in and out at the tip of your nose. That's it. That's a good way to begin. And in doing this, you're training yourself not to be like a dry leaf just getting tossed around by the wind. The wind in this case would be our sensations and our thoughts that create emotions, right? So we're learning how to not react. And then what happens, the more you practice this and you go out into your daily life and something happens, a sensation or an emotion or a thought or somebody says something, you have begun to create the power, an amazing power. You're developing this power to be still in those moments. And the more you are in that stillness, you begin to access that connection with your wise self, your divine self, your true self that is beyond emotions, thoughts, and sensations, that has all of the answers that we need. And that's how we learn how to connect to that. We're not looking for visions and magic and meditation and in that stillness. We're looking for the discipline, or I like to call it devotion. And my definition of that is devotion plus, or discipline plus love is devotion. The devotion to believing that my divine self, you can say my God, my divine self, my true self, capital S self, is within my stillness. And I just practice. And so sometimes you might have these amazing little messages come forward, but even those, we keep putting that aside and we just sit in the stillness. We don't follow threads of anything that's going to get the mind going, because the mind wants to know everything. The ego wants to know everything and wants to be in charge. And that's why those of us who have read all the books and have studied all these different things and have played with all of these new age concepts, it's a lot of it is feeding our egos. And it's like, oh, I get it now. Or, oh, this is the answer. The answer can only happen through stillness. I did not want that to be the answer. I wanted to figure it out. And I would get so frustrated and, still find myself, because I'm not trained yet, but still find myself wanting to figure things out and go deep into the thoughts and the analysis and the emotions that come up because of it all. And it's now just a return to that practice of stillness. Or I like to say the return to the altar, a return to the vow of being devotional to my true self, what I am meant to discover within myself, what you are meant to discover within yourself. So I hope this was helpful. I'm very excited to continue to offer some more opportunities to perhaps meditate together. And because when we're doing it together and we can share the experience, it's supportive. And that's a whole nother conversation that I feel passionate about, this idea of community and supporting one another in a world that is, pretty difficult to find stillness in our lifestyles that we've created for ourselves. It's very difficult. So with that said, I will look forward to talking with you again. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions or comments. I always like to hear feedback. Bye.